Hey guys, Ark here, bringing to you Chapter 2, Episode 1. This is a big milestone for us. I had a handful of questions of when are we going to start Chapter 2, what are we going to cover in Chapter 2, so I want to just jump into it. I was trying to wait a little bit longer, wanted to cover a couple more things in Chapter 1, but I think I'll use this time just to start continuing on with the series, and then eventually I'll start adding on extra videos to the different chapters once I'm further into it. As well as any requests or anything, I'll jump back into previous seasons and cover those too if there are requests about it. Depending on which one it fits into, I might cover it in the current chapter or a previous one. We'll see. This episode, so this is going to be the intro into Chapter 2. So Chapter 2, what I kind of wanted to cover was more in-depth specifics into each individual matchup. So Night Elf versus Night Elf Mirror, Night Elf versus Orc versus Undead versus Human. Kind of more in depth of how the gameplay will actually look. So what is your early game strategy? What are the key things to transition into Tier 2? Key things to transition into Tier 3? What are things to watch out for? So we'll probably cover specific matchups multiple episodes. So for instance, let's say we'll have Night Elf versus Human for 4 episodes because that's how long it takes to go over some of the general things I wanted to cover for those matchups, and so forth. And that'll basically be the theme for Chapter 2. At the same time, it won't only be those matchups. So this episode we're going to use as an introduction to the game in general. So for Night Elf, a big aspect of playing is Wisp location and scouting. So I covered a little bit of like micro, macro, and I don't think I've covered scouting yet for Chapter 1, but this is going to be our first real introduction into what are some of the key things to know about scouting. And so again, jumping back, Night Elf has Wisp that can harvest lumber all across the map. So your Wisp location has a big it has a big importance on how you play. Similarly, for instance, Orc has Blade Master, which can't attack it's not a range attack, right? Human has Archmage typically, which is a ranged attack. So depending on their hero typical hero choices and everything, that will dictate often where you typically will place your Wisps. What I'm going to cover in this episode is really just kind of an introduction and how do I actually identify best Wisp locations. And that has definitely changed over the last few weeks as well for me. This is just kind of this video is kind of one thing that I often used in the last few weeks to better identify best Wisp locations on each map. You can use this in every single map. What I'm going to show you in this episode, I'm only going to show one specific map, but just keep in mind that you can use this on any given map. So with that said, I'm going to jump right into it. We'll switch over to the game. Essentially, what I did is I created a custom single-player game, which allows me to enable cheats. So the ones that we're going to use, it's called Warp 10, W-A-R-P-T-E-N. You just go in and type it, and you can see in the bottom left where it says cheat enabled. The next thing we're going to say is greed is good, all one word, and then space, and then type in a number. I usually just do 10,000. That usually covers all I need. And you can see up in my resources that I all of a sudden have plus 10,000 gold and plus 10,000 wood. So essentially I'm supply blocked right now. What Warp 10 does, you can see it very clearly. I'll build this moonwell, and all of a sudden I'm building it really fast. Now it gives my Wisp more food, and you can see I build a ton of them. So I'm just going to do a couple of those. Whoops. And that should be enough. And I'm just going to pump out Wisps. And so this is one thing I do. Basically, this allows me to just send pockets of Wisps all across the map to find spots that are hidden. So I'm going to go ahead and send a packet of Wisps over here. Just click on one tree, and it'll just try and find the first spots it can. Do the same thing over here, which I'm only going to send a couple because there's not a whole lot of spots. Place them over there. And you don't really have to have any plan exactly with how you want to do it. Just throw a couple. And you can keep building it as you need more Wisps. So I'll send that little pocket of Wisps there. We'll get more Wisp coming. Let's see, we'll do some more here. And essentially what I'm looking for is Wisps that are going to be hard to identify from the opponent. Maybe they're hidden. They're able to harvest lumber from trees that are not obvious. So we need more food. So just go ahead and do that. So now we'll just take a quick look, and I see one that's not hit, so I'm going to add a couple wisps over here. So we'll just take a quick look around the map, see if there's anything that jump out at us. So these are all trees that are very obvious to the opponent. If they run a unit by it, they'll see it. So we'll just go ahead and move these over. We'll move these guys over. And okay, so the opponent, there's the opponent, so he definitely sees them. Now, this one will have to be a little bit more finesse with. And holy crap, okay, Warp 10 works for him too. So this one we're not going to get a whole lot of use for, so keep that in mind. But some of the ones, if you pay attention, so there's one right here. This one, it's a little bit hidden. This one you can actually only approach from one side. So if I bring it over here, I'll send it over here. Watch how my wisp moves. So it won't approach from this side. So this is kind of a neat one because typically the way that you're going to see this one here is if you're running along this direction. And if they send a unit to go attack it, you can just move it off. And it's got a lot of trees blocking it. So that's kind of a safe one typically. It's hard to see it running from this direction. So I already knew about this one, obviously, so that's why I'm focusing on it. And a lot of these I actually already know about, and that's why I'm sent them to the specific locations. So if we take a look here, kind of see the key trees that are very difficult to see. So I'm going to take away the ones that aren't as difficult. So you can kind of see what I'm focusing on here. Is that one? Oh, no, it's not. I thought there was another one. Well, I'm wrong here. Okay. So well, actually three. Well, I didn't even know about this one. So the two that I'm focusing, or the three I'm focusing on are these trees here. So if you send a unit by here, there's no way that the opponent will see these. These trees are actually hidden from view if you were to run past it. So this is a very good spot for Wisp that is going to be really hard for the opponent to actually identify. So that's a good spot on this map to have Wisp that this allows you to scout your shop, scout the green, scout the lab, and it keeps this Wisp very safe. Jump around over here. Another key one. I'm going to move some of the wisps away that I know aren't useful. This wisp right here, very difficult to spot, but it is spottable as if a unit runs past it, they will see it. What makes this one unique is that it can't be hit by melee units. So this is good for like versus orc. This is very safe until they get ensnare, hex, or ranged. If they have farseer, they'll be able to hit this. So this is a very good spot for against orc because it allows you to scout both the gold mine, your shop, right here. It's just a good scouting spot. Another one, which is not the case on here, but on this side of the map, I didn't get to show it because the opponent kind of was already attacking it. But there's a tree right here. It's not able to be hit from melee units again. So it's just like this spot right here, just on. But ranged attacks can still hit it. That's pretty much it. There's a couple I believe right here, so let's just see. Basically, all I do is I open up a game and just send wisps all over the map, and then that kind of teaches you where you can put wisps firsthand. You don't have to just watch a picture of it or something. There's actually a couple here too that are pretty good, but it's just something to keep in mind as you're playing the game. Where are your wisps going to be safe at? Because a good player will have in their mind what they want to do and what can the opponent do to identify what they're doing. And so, for instance, an orc player is going to be sent, if they go grunt blade master, they're going to have their grunt running around scouting and looking out for wisps, buildings, whatnot, that could end up costing you in the long run because they'll identify what you're doing, or at least really damage your lumber income. So with that, guys, that's going to bring an end to Chapter 2, Episode 1. What I would highly recommend doing is, for a lot of the maps that you don't know where the wisp locations are, do exactly this. Go in single player, warp 10, greed is good, build a crap ton of wisps, and then just send them all around the map. That'll tell you exactly where you can put wisps and how they can be defended against. Keep in mind, you may not, like this one may not jump out at you as one that a ranged attack can attack, or melee, or difficult to see or something. Ways that you can go about doing that, though, is just from play experience, or have someone go in a custom game with someone and ask them, or just another thing that you could do, basically just do a map with another person, have them run units all around it, and then you can just look at the replay if that's what you want to do. Otherwise, if you're just what I do is I just see what I just try and ask myself, okay, this tree looks like it's pretty safe, and then from game experience, I'll eventually figure out that, hey, range attacks can hit this, or in this case, hey, nothing can actually see this. And so that's kind of how I do it personally, but feel free to do, there's other options for you. So with that, again, like I said, end of chapter 2, episode 1. From here, like I said, we're going to extend into the matchups and just kind of general how the game evolves. So thank you for tuning in, and have a good day, everyone. Bye.